generally,
Namaskar, welcome to Sunday Club. And you're right, Lord Suhel was making us wait,
I'm
but
sorry,
he's
don't talk
finally
rubbish.
here.
See, this is what I
And
don't like. I was here at 3:47 my time, which means whatever the time is in India.
okay,
which part of the
let's
world
go.
are you in? You should clarify that.
I got into London this morning.
Okay, so you'll give us a British perspective on
The British
Yeah.
have
on
no
the.
fucking clue, so they have no idea.
Okay, so
Okay.
was it in the main papers today in Britain?
No, no.
No, not even on the sixth page, seventh page, nothing.
I think they would have, when it was happening, they would have put the papers to bed. So it is only afterwards, I think, first the TV channels, BBC and others woke up and the rest. So I don't think it would have been on print. And in any
Hmm.
case, what would come on print is not necessarily something
And
you'd like to read.
it
Uh,
says anger at Indian payoff in biggest deal since Brexit. The Brits have no idea yet, Chodna. The Brits are like you, boss. They are clueless. Come, let's start.
Okay, let's start. AIM is not with us because AIM. Okay, this is AIM has been signed on by a news channel. We won't name it because it's a competitor, and so has Sandip Unithan. So basically, all our defense experts on the Sunday Club have all been signed up by mainstream news. So we'll find someone else.
and,
Not to worry. Yeah,
but we are the Velas of the show. But we speak the
yeah. No,
maximum sense, I can assure you.
no one signs
And
us up.
that
Why don't you just start, Advaita, instead of giving a
Okay.
preface? You're not Bernard Shaw, where your preface is longer than your play. Start.
Oh God. Okay, let's start. So last night I was awake and literally got to know within 2 minutes of the attack, and can't tell you how good that felt. At 1:48 a.m. is when I found out, and I think 1:45 is when it was happening, and it was expected, of course, no mystery there, but one didn't know in what form it would come, when it would come, and particularly moving was the name, Operation Sindoor, because we all remember that searing image of that young bride sitting by her dead husband's body, just days old husband's body, and it just broke one's heart. And to have an armed forces that is just as emotive and in tune with how the nation feels, not just in terms of expressing power, but how we feel, what we emotionally resonate with, was for me so powerful in the naming of this operation and the way it was carried out yesterday. And God bless our braves, God bless our prime minister, and we'll wait and see what comes next. But Suhail, you were miles away, so let's hear from you.
Look, I always believe that the way Narendra Modi functions is he functions on the basis of what he believes is the right time. He's not swayed by the media or by pressure from some jokers. Oh, please attack, please do this, please do that. He always makes it a point to pick a time of his choosing where he believes his people, which is our revered, respected, loved armed forces, would guide him and advise him. See, Advaita, here's the thing. I'm telling you, as a person who understands strategy, the day they announced the mock drill, I knew the attack would happen. And I'll tell you why. Because this would create a deflection. And Pakistan and most of their people, and I don't mean the civilians, I'm talking about the army and the government, they're intellectually innocent. They're reasonably dumb people. And I knew that they wouldn't expect an attack of this kind. They wouldn't expect an attack which was targeting non military establishments. So you can't ever say it's war. It's to flush out terrorism and to flush out terrorists. To my mind, that is what was interesting. So let me paint the scenario, which I've even done in all my tweets. India was very clear that there would be no tolerance of terror on our land, on our soil, against our people, no matter whether those people were Hindus, Muslims, Parsis, Christians, even Nepalese. But as long as they're on our land is pavitra, it's revered, it's sanctioned, it's sacred. point is that when Pakistan did what it did, I think it realized that there were repercussions, but there were two twists to the tail. Twist number one was that this is the first time that religion was introduced as a variable in the terror operation. When they said that, look, please drop your trousers and we'll see who's been circumcised, blah, 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 it was clear. Number two, it was a terror attack which was laced with a challenge key, go tell Modi. So therefore, there were two things that were happening. One is non-state actors would not have used the name go tell Modi. It's only state actors or state-sponsored actors who would have used that phrase. Number two, it is very clear that the objective of Pakistan was twinfold. One is to have the attack. Two is to create a situation where they believed that there would be communal rioting in India, not realizing that the Indian Muslim is not like the Pakistani Muslim terrorist. The Indian Muslim is woven into the fabric of India. Why? Because whether you like it or not, Narendra Modi has done more for the Indian Muslim than most prime ministers have, whether it's the abolition of the triple talaq or whatever. Both those things, therefore, went wrong for Pakistan. What also happened is when you do, and this is another aspect of strategy, and if you've read, as you're a well-read person, if you've read Sun Tzu and the Art of War, what is important in any strategy is timing. It is not force. It is, we often use that phrase, revenge is a dish best served cold. It's when you least expect it that you whack the buggers. And this is exactly what happened. Now, let's look at what was happening visually or optically 3 to 4 days before. You had the Prime Minister meet different chiefs of staff. You had Ajit Doval meet him. You had Rajnath Singh address people saying that, look, Modi is listening to you, and whatever will happen, you'll be very happy about it. Then, if you remember, and I mean you do, last evening at 8 p.m., Narendra Damodar Das Modi addressed the ABP summit without giving a hint of what was going to happen. Go back to November 8, 2016, when demonetization was announced. Again, sleight of hand, boom. Go back to the announcement that he made during COVID, boom. So, the point I'm making is that Modi was clearly doing three things between the day the attack happened and last night. Number one, we put all our ducks in a row diplomatically, which is why if you see Trump's statement today is as vague as everything else. Oh, they've been fighting for centuries and all. But Trump's knowledge of history is like your knowledge of literature. So that can be pardoned. Number two.
How do you contradict yourself in the span of 5 minutes? Anyway?
I always do. Number two, what is also happening is that diplomatically, we had made this into an issue of terror and not into an issue of territory or control. So it wasn't a war, but it was a war against terror, much like the wars that America had unleashed. So America was no one to say, oh, you can't attack. Which is why if you see all the comments, whether it's from Israel, Rishi Sunak, blah, 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 they've all said, oh, we stand by India. The third is that he used a metaphor, which to my marketing mind is a brilliant one. You called it Operation Sindoor. Because what did you do? You killed all the men in that attack in Pahalgam. You widowed innocent women. You robbed them of their right to put vermilion. It's a very strong Hindu motif. It's a very strong visual motif. And it's a very memorable word or a phrase. So even from, and I hate to sound so petty or cheap, but that's not the intent. If I were to analyze it from a brand or a let's say a marketing perspective or a communication perspective, it was brilliant. Now come to 10 a.m. India time this morning. What do you see? You see two powerful women from two different religions addressing the media on Operation Sindoor. And in the middle, you have the foreign secretary. You don't have the defense secretary. You don't have the defense minister. Because very clearly you are sending out a message to the world that this was not a war against Pakistan, against its people, but it was a war against Pakistan's terrorists who are being supported by the state and within the state by the government and the army. So, Advaita, if you analyze the whole thing from the wrapper of strategy, it is 10 on 10. Now, let's come to the very critical point of fake news. I'm delighted that we were able to sift the fake from the real. There were many people, and let me not take names because that's not proper, they're not here. There were many people from our side who were the first naysayers, not this morning or last night, but for the last 5 days, who have been blatantly almost suggesting that India is making a mistake by going to war. First, those fucking idiots should never have used the phrase,
Language,
sorry,
language.
right, they should have never used the phrase going to war because it is not a war per se. It is
It's a
a war
strategic
against
strike.
terror. So you have to qualify that. And these people, to my mind, were shown their place last night because very clearly we did not attack civilian targets. We attacked people who are terrorists who were being housed in those camps. So I genuinely believe, Advaita, that India has done four things between last night and today. We have shown the world we are no namby-pamby country. Number two, we have shown the world that, like Israel, we don't belong to a bloc when it comes to saving our lives, our people, our territory. Number three, we've shown the world that we have absolute control in a democratic setup between the armed forces and the government, the elected government. It's not like a tin pot dictatorship which is being buggered in and out of jail in Pakistan. And number four, we've told the world that we are totally aligned with the world, with the sensible world that exists. There are many insane countries, like Turkey, for instance. So we have actually told the world that India is not to be taken lightly. Indian lives are no longer inexpensive as they were made out to be post 26/11, and that we will attack when we are hurt. The Gandhian concept of offering the other cheek is over. We will not follow the dictum of Mahatma, but we will follow the dictum of karma. You do bad karma, you will pay for it in this lifetime. And that's what happened last night on those 9 sites. Thank you.
Okay. Sandip, let's get your comments.
See, Advaita, first of all, that there's going to be reaction was known. I think the point about people guessing that was the part of the strategy, and the difference being last time the element of surprise which India could inflict at the time of Pulwama or Balakot, that was gone here. People knew that something or the other is going to happen, but when is the question? How was also another bigger question. There were a lot of conjecture. Having done the Pulwama and Balakot, whether India is going to use a naval route or whatever. The people whom Suhel was calling naysayers or people who have been mocking Modi for not acting in so many days. I was seeing one of the YouTubers generally giving a day-by-day account of what Modi has been doing since the day of the attack, and basically trying to say that, he's chickened out and he finally. I think they have also served a purpose because they have actually, added to that element of suspense or guess because outsiders didn't really know which way India is going. This is very funny. It has got two sides. As Indians, we in this sort of a situation, we still are divided lot. As we have seen in some major political party, one side says that we are with the government. Again, the same parties, some very senior leaders taking a different line. I just tweeted that just imagine if also the countries which are advising us restraint or not to escalate, what would have been their reaction if their own citizens had been shut down on their soil? So there was all of it. And I think Narendra Modi had this onus on him because he couldn't have a reputation of what 2911 Manmohan Singh and others had done if he didn't react, or if he doesn't react still. I think his political capital, and also everything will go down the tube. So the point, as Suhail was saying, is look at this person's remarkable. Everything was happening. We know there were certain optics, but optics also, those of us knew, were just for show. He wouldn't be discussing strategy with people in front of the camera, showing some stuff. So all that was happening, and there was no sign of whatsoever of what was going on behind the scenes. As today's press conference would have shown us, that there was total preparation. You can't otherwise have such a well choreographed and scripted press conference, with the perfect messaging. And simultaneously, when that was happening, we know the NSA and the ambassadors of different countries were speaking to their respective counterparts in those places. So there was also this whole element of taking the global powers along. Okay, a few like Turkey won't come along with you, but even other people who have not totally sided with us, you see the moderated response from Malaysia or anybody else. So I think that is fabulous, and that is the order of leadership which India has not so since the time of Mrs. Gandhi. In Mrs. Gandhi's time, it was a different order, but Narendra Modi is in a different class. Where Suhel mentioned, I think Suhel, it was post 9 o'clock when he was at that, AVP conclave. Nobody had any clue. And there are some people have posted pictures today, like Vikram Sampath, etc., how he was smiling with them, shaking their hands, congratulating them at that point in time. I was talking to my colleagues in office. If we were having even a major event, or a plant breakdown or shutdown, we would cancel all our appointments and not go there. We said, like, let's stay in office, or let's not do that. And look at this man, how he has been doing these things while traveling, while giving a sense of calm and peace. And so I think the first part is done, Advaita. The point that we were discussing on the other day, this time around, deterrent don't work. We have seen in the past, you do this once-off attacks, Pakistan again regroups, they will stay quiet for a couple of years and then come back. I think this time we will have to deal a much more lethal blow. You have to have a follow-through. Now, whether the follow-through happens immediately or over a prolonged period of time, but you just can't rest by saying, okay, Pulwama has happened, Balakot has happened, we have taught them a lesson, and now let's get back to work and business as usual. That is not going to happen. I think that has to happen. And I think there India already has several blueprints ready, whether it's Doval or whether it's Modi or the defense forces. They have not been sitting idle for the last 10 years. And even I will end by saying, even when, say, Kashmir first happened, and subsequently even in the normalization, our people would have factored in. It's not that they are so naive or innocent not to think that Pakistan is not going to try there. So there is, people would be mistaken if we don't have blueprints ready. And I would wait for how that unfolds, not just in the next few days, but over next few months, and certainly this tenure of Modi and Amit Shah.
Okay. So here they've definitely wargamed this, speaking from a strategic perspective. They've definitely counted on the fact that there will be certain rogue nations like Turkey or Turkey, which it likes to call itself, that will come out in support of Pakistan. Although Turkey has enough space between them and Pakistan and India to not really get actively involved, but be the shoulder, so to speak, for Pakistan in these times.
Let me tell you.
So
I need to point out to our viewers that how you went to Turkey and all those tweets you made from there, generally going gaga over that country, the people. And
forget all that, yeah. That's irrelevant. Let me tell you.
That was prior to this, yeah. So, Sandip, for heaven's sake.
Don't confuse the issue. Turkey is a rogue nation. Erdogan is a scoundrel. He's an absolute son of a, I will not use the word. So let me tell you, don't even bother. Look, there has been a dramatic shift, Advaita. Earlier, we wanted to be popular. Now we want to be right. We want to be right by our people. We don't want to be right by some bloody think tank. We don't want to placate some joker in parliament. We don't want to suck up to some goddamn left leaning, liberal, woke jokers. That's the change in India. Today, India has decided we will stand up and be counted. We will not be one of the many, but we will be many in one. That's the important line today. And this is what Narendra Modi has shown. And I'm not a great fan of the BJP or the Congress. I hate all political parties, as you know. I don't give a monkey's toss. But you need leadership which is decisive. You don't need mamby-pambies. You need leadership which calls for action. You need leadership which leads from the front. You need a leader who's willing to walk the talk and not only talk while walking. That's the difference. And one thing, when you lead a country, the first and the only thing that you need to worry about is, are you able to inspire your people to be on the same plank of ideological thought for the country? Not political ideology, not religious ideology, not nothing. It is that, which is why it is important for us to understand that we are talking about a new India. We're talking about a confident India. And I'm not being jingoistic. I'm not saying rah, 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 everything is good. Of course, things are bad. Some things are not good. It's the truth with every country. But we have arrived at a stage where we are not going to be waiting to win popular votes. We're going to do things that are right by our people, that are right by law, and that are right by humanity. Where we're going to talk
But you
about decency. We're going to talk about those issues. And that is, to my
know,
mind, is the important thing.
Sohail, I want you to make a comparison because I know worked very closely with the Taj. We had 2611, and you saw the lack of a response then, and now we've had this particular incident. What do you think has been the difference
So let
then
me tell
and
you,
now?
there are many idiots on Twitter who said, oh, at that time you criticized Shivraj Patil, but now you're not criticizing someone. So I want to, and I'm glad you've given me this opportunity. On the 26th of November, at 9:15 p.m., Leopold was attacked. At the same time, Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, CST was attacked, Chawad House was attacked, and then the Taj. At that point in time, what was happening in Delhi? There was a dinner where M.K. Narayanan, Shivraj Patil, and some others were at that dinner. And Vilas Rao Deshmukh was actually in Kerala, the chief minister at that time of Maharashtra. What did you see? You had utter and total chaos. You didn't even know what the hell was going on. There were conflicting reports in the media and elsewhere saying, A, it's gangland war. B, it is a straight firing incident. The enormity did not dawn upon anyone, including the government of the day. My issue was that you had a bunch of jokers at that time in the home minister. It was his responsibility. And why is it his responsibility? Of course, terrorism is a process of surprise attack. That's why those scoundrels exist. But look at what happened post that. Till 2:45 a.m., the NSG was not even rolled out, was not even mustered. And remember, the NSG used to be based at Palam, and they were moved to Manesar. Okay, they were moved to Manesar by Arun Nehru. I think I may be wrong. You had total chaos. When the NSG arrived in Bombay the following morning, at that point in time, they were put in buses. So you had no infrastructure planning, you had no logistical support, you had given them no maps of those buildings, nothing. Then you had errant media who were bloody standing outside the Taj, outside the Oberoi, broadcasting to all and sundry. There was total chaos. Why did I comment at that point in time? Because at that point in time, my comment was that couldn't Advani, who was then opposition, and Manmohan Singh travel in the same plane to give the same signal of unity? What did Narendra Modi do? You may hate him, he may hate Rahul Gandhi, whatever, Rahul Gandhi may hate him. Irrelevant. There was an all-party meeting. The meeting brought everyone on the same page. remember, when a nation goes to war or a nation is engulfed in a crisis like we were, you need to inform everyone, but you don't need to take everyone's consensual view, because that will never happen. But look at what happened. The national narrative, even, and I'm glad that a person like Ovesi, and it was across party lines. Rahul Gandhi
Yeah.
cutting his trip short, coming back, going to Srinagar, going to Pahalgam. These are great signs, which did not happen 26/11. What's the other thing that happened? You had a very clearly defined chain of command. Crisis management works when you have a defined chain of command, when you know who is going to address which issue within that crisis in order to solve that crisis. You had that today. You didn't have that in the past. And let me tell you, tomorrow, God forbid something happens, first, people will be scared. Number two, do you think it's going to end with this? No. Pakistan feeds on terror. That's in their DNA. That is their income and revenue stream. They don't have an economy. Their economy is about hate. Their purpose is to fuel hate, fuel stress, fuel tension, and fuel violence. They believe that death is the ultimate harbinger of hope. Ironic as it might sound, it isn't. So, my belief here, Advaita, is as a proud Indian who adores my country. I don't just love it, I adore my country. I'm privileged. I feel blessed to be born an Indian. I think it's a great honor and it's a great privilege to be born an Indian. And I'm delighted that I have in my country great men and women, whether it is Sophia, or whether it's Vyomika, or whether it is our army staff, whether it's our chiefs. We've got great people. We need to give these people wings to fly, which Narendra Modi has done, which I'm sure any prime minister would have done if the prime minister was willing. As I tweeted, I said sometimes it pays to have a full time prime minister.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, there'll be many people who will discuss the ravages of war and say, oh, but we shouldn't have attacked, but we shouldn't have. These people don't matter because they are part of the problem. These scoundrels are not part of the solution. The problem in our country is we have many of these fucking jokers, sorry for the French, who are willing to isolate and create problems for every solution. You ask these people, they don't have a solution for a problem. And I'm just tired of their whining. I'm tired of these people always finding fault with our country. Of course, we have faults. Don't they have faults? But at times when the nation must unite, at a time when India must speak in one voice, at a time when India must stand united behind its armed forces, behind its leadership, whether it is opposition or the executive, these are times which bring nationalism to the fore, not jingoism. These are times which bring nationalistic ideology to the fore, not patriotism, which is the last refuge of the scoundrel. So, Advaita, we're in a good place. Will we have problems in the future? Of course we will. We are not a country, we're a civilizational legacy. We have to be proud of that legacy and we have to guard that legacy. We cannot allow a bunch of self serving rascals from across the border to tamper with that legacy or with the custodians of that legacy who are our men, women, and children. And that signal has been sent to the world that we will do what is important for us. We will not do what is important for the frigging United Nations because the United Nations can go to hell for all I care.
Oh gosh, I was just noticing yesterday that I was, of course, up all night, and this, we were reading the social media news coming in, and I said, the reason that
Hang
we're
on a
not
minute. I must
hearing.
apologize for using French, but at times it comes out not because you want to use foul language, but sometimes it's inadvertent and for which I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and I mean, I think what you said right now actually moved me immensely. So I guess there'll be more moments like this. But I think, the fact that we were not hearing sirens, that we could look at the news on social media, it was because very brave men and women were risking their all out there on the field, on the front line, in the skies. And to me, that was it just struck me so powerfully in the middle of the night that we had the luxury of sitting at home and just following the news as almost like a curiosity. Pallavi, but your media, and it's not your media, but they just let one down so badly. What the Hindu did today was appalling, and it was treacherous, and it was treasonous, and there's no other way to describe it.
Yeah.
Unofficial, off the record comments from somebody about the well being of our braves was just so disgusting. I mean, I've always been about free press, free this, free that. But if that paper shut down tomorrow, I would not have a problem with that.
I would, because I
Can you
know a lot of
imagine? I'll
people
name the
who
paper, The
who work
Hindu.
there.
The Hindu is a shame. The Hindu is a shame. They should remove the word Hindu from their newspaper. They are nothing but self serving ideological rascals. Nothing more than that.
Go ahead, Pallavi.
Yeah. See, it's not just Hindu today. I think in the last 10 to 15 days, we have been seeing a lot of irresponsible stuff which has been going out. And mind you, most of these people have either never covered a war, or they've not even covered any kind of this kind of a military action. I mean, people like me don't have that kind of experience, but in my own limited way, I was very much there when the 26/11 happened. I was very much covering the UPA government. So what Suhel was saying, just to add on, absolutely bang on, because that's exactly what happened. The difference is that at that point of time, no one seemed to be knowing what was happening. So when the media went out of control there, I was not surprised, because there was very bizarre things. I mean, I'm sure you all must remember those visuals of Vilas Rao Deshmukh going to a Taj hotel and roaming around with that actor, of the director, Ravi
Ritesh
Verma, or
Sandip,
Deshmukh,
Gopal Verma, Ram
No,
Gopal
Ram
Verma.
Gopal Varma and
Ram
Vilas
Gopal
Rao
Verma.
Deshmukh
And
went
they were
to
Hmm.
the
roaming
Taj
around the corridor, the
the day
lobbies,
the
and
Taj,
the halls.
yeah.
Yeah, the day that happened. And that is when Vilas Rao Deshmukh was sacked, and there were cameras there. Okay. And what happened pretty much outside coverage of 26/11, absolutely shocking. No one seemed to be knowing, forget the media, how to even control their own party. Shivraj Patil was removed and Chidambaram was brought in. It was complete chaos. In the last, since the news broke out, and I've been out at the NMC where the press conference was held of the army, I just saw the fantastic arrangement. You know, the press conference was supposed to be at 10. There were people who were coming in. We were all told that, all of you, I request that today is not the day to ask questions. We are going to come out with a statement. You people would have got those goosebumps. I was there in the hall when they released and that video, of the parliament attack. They did an entire sequence to show, to build up to the narrative on why this attack against Pakistan was provoked. It was not unprovoked, and we never escalated it. So they, and then getting those two women to sit there, then Operation Sindoor, and there are people who are criticizing it. But my point is that it was very good media kind of a narrative which was built up. We were all told to be responsible. We were constantly, every 10 seconds, given out what is called the PIB fact check. And we were told, please insist on this with your office. So I kept on telling my office, I said it on air, guys, there is a fact check unit of the government. This is the information, because they were all false pictures coming. My point is that if there's a media which has gone rogue, which came out with wrong facts, and I would call it cruel, because our people are still there on the border. They are still waiting tonight. It could be another long night. We are still waiting. Will there be a retaliation? We've been very unfair to them. And if this is not sedition, then what else is? If this has not
Absolutely.
evoked a strong reaction, then what else is? And it's a lesson
Absolutely.
for all of us in the media also, that, sometimes it's not just about the breaking news. Sometimes, and more, in fact, all the times it should be about, one, your credibility, and second, to keep people safe. मेरा एक छोटा सा comment and tweet can actually put a life in danger. That is something none of us have the right to do so.
Sohail, it's also, Pallavi says, okay, war reportage is different. Not everyone is trained for it. You have people who are on different beats, tweeting now on the war, not necessarily having gone through the rigor of that kind of training. But there's also common sense and just basic empathy and national morale. If you have something that is terrible and is not verifiable or has been confirmed by your government, not someone else's government, how can
See,
you put it out in the in the public domain?
it's a very good question.
Hmm.
There's a fundamental problem with us as a country. I don't know why it's happened. Many of us have become so cynical about our capabilities, about our advantages, about the good that we have, that we tend to find fault with everything. Now, Pallavi, will you stop doing all that? It's just disturbing, ridiculous.
Come
So
back from work, so I'm just sorting out
my
stuff.
issue is not that. My issue is let these people be.
Mute yourself, please.
There will always be people, Advaita, who will find fault with anything that's good. Shakespeare said it. The good is oft interred with the bones, the evil lives long after. These are the people. But by giving these people more shray or more airtime, you are doing a disservice. By not giving them one, they will say, oh, you have something to hide. So let them be. Look.
No, but China daily, with 4.1 million followers on Twitter, is quoting the Hindu and saying, according to Indian newspaper, the Hindu, and this has happened. Look, China
Exactly.
is quoting you. You run
But
ads of
does
China
China
on
have any
your
credibility?
newspaper.
Does China have any credibility? It's a bloody chopstick nation.
No,
It's a
but the
chopstick
Hindu
nation.
receives ads from the Chinese government
So this is,
routinely.
but now it is being seen. I would, as a marketing person, urge people to do two things: boycott the Hindu and make sure that no Indian brand advertises. When they experience economic pain, all this nonsense of China will vanish. Remember that. Please understand what happened to Tesla when they went after Musk. What did they do? Tesla declined 71% in April, and the guy had to bloody leave Washington D.C. and get back to Texas. Do that, cause the Hindu economic pain, because they have caused national shame. Economic pain to anyone who causes national shame. If you have YouTuber rascals doing this, boycott them. All this is about money ultimately. Let me tell you, it's a disgrace what the Hindu has done. And the Hindu is not alone. There are many like Hindu. There are many like that. And if Modi takes action, they will say, oh, it's emergency, draconian measures. Let them die an economic death, because you cannot give them a political death. It's not worth it. You must also learn to pick your enemies. You pick your fights. You
Yeah.
don't fight with someone who is intellectually and ammunition wise inferior. So that's the problem. The there's infighting in the family. All of them hate each other. Malini Parthasarthi hates Enram. Enram's first wife hated him and left, Susan. So I'm not bothered about Enram and all these scoundrels. They're rascals. Let them be. Will they have supporters in India? Of course they will. That is a tribute to the diversity of opinion that Indians can tolerate. But that doesn't mean we have to agree with that opinion. So if we don't agree, we boycott. As simple. Tell Hindu to go take a walk.
And the other interesting thing was that people are saying, oh, Pakistan is now going around saying, oh, you should have. We were ready to collaborate on an investigation, and we could have had a neutral country come in and investigate, and they didn't want to do that, and India came in and attacked
Comes
us.
and
But the
murders.
bottom line, they had 2 weeks. They had 2 weeks to facilitate that for an outreach to make it happen. They had 2
God
weeks to
forbid.
do it. In the past, they were invited during, the other, not
God
Balakot.
forbid, Advaita, someone comes and commits a murder in your home. Are you going to make that joker the head of the investigation authority? No. Are you going to invite that rascal to be an investigator? No. Plus, we are not here to serve Pakistan's desires and needs. The Hoors will serve them there, and the Indian Defense Forces will give them the service that they deserve. We are not here to pander to Pakistan's wishes. They can go screw themselves for all I care. They cannot tell us, oh, we must be part of the investigation. Who the fuck are you? Why should you be part of any investigation? If you are a part of the problem, we need to eliminate you. We don't need to make
No,
you part of the solution.
and in
So
the
you're
past, when they
absolutely right.
have been part of an investigation, they've not cooperated. This is what happened when the army camp was
Advaita,
attacked by
you've hit the
terrorists.
nail. The problem is the world is always seeking consensus. The world is always seeking popularity. And the world is always saying, oh, we must be nice to each other. We don't need to be nice to each other. I have to be nice to my people. I have to make sure my people are safe. I have to make sure my women, men, and children are safe. I don't have to worry about whether bloody Shehbaz Sharif sleeps on a bed or on a cot or on the floor or in a bunker. That's not
Interestingly, Suhel, some of the reports coming out of Pakistan is that PTI, which is Imran Khan's political party, has sort of said that Munir should go because he's landed Pakistan in this mess. Of course, Bilawal Bhutto is parroting the army line, which you pointed out also in your tweet, and quite appallingly so, considering they executed his grandfather.
I said that.
But,
His grandfather
you said
and his
that.
mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, let me tell you, Imran Khan is as much of a scoundrel. All the Pakistani politicians are cut from the same cloth. They may be slightly better or slightly worse, but their DNA has been corrupted. It has been corrupted by power, it has been corrupted by corruption, and it's been corrupted by the abuse of religion and religious doctrine. That's who they really are. The army in Pakistan are a bunch of savage scalpers. They are people who are scavengers. Remember, vultures always feed on dead flesh. That is the beauty about Pakistan's army. They are vultures feeding on dead flesh. It is the world's richest army, and it has made no money from its distinctive work. As I said today, when they showed a photograph of that idiot Munir with all those medals, I said, these are medals not earned, they are bought from Hafiz and his pillais, which means Hafiz and all his illegitimate or legitimate children. So I'm not bothered. I have to worry about my country. And why am I not worried today? I'm not worried because I know we have decisive leadership. I know we do not have a leader who's going to be a wimp and who's going to want to be popular. He has been unpopular since 2002 and he couldn't give a monkey's toss. So he's not looking for popularity, he's looking for demonstrable action. Number three, I'm delighted that we have ensured that we will act alone in an isolated manner and we will not seek validation from any corner of the world, including the goddamn United Nations. And number four, we are answerable and accountable to our people. We're accountable to the aspirations of our people. We're accountable to the welfare of our people. That's about it. We're not accountable or answerable to anyone else. And that's what we have made very clear. Last night, we made it clear in Balakot, we made it clear in Pulwama. And trust me, the more adventurism Pakistan undertakes, the more doom will befall them. And they also need to realize.
I have a question, Suhel. You're sitting in the West right now. You've also shown us the newspaper. Very little mention, if at all, of this particular incident and India's response. However, what happened in Pahalgam is very similar to Hamas. It is textbook Hamas style attack, right? You identify people by religion. You subject them to indignity, like stripping down their trousers and underwear to check if they're circumcised or not, Hindu or not, and then you brutally shoot them at point blank range. Textbook. Yet the West doesn't seem to be moved by that. You still have the BBCs and other media outlets saying things like militants and using language like that and shying away from calling them what they are, terrorists. So what is it that we need to do to understand, for them to understand that Indian blood also matters?
It doesn't matter what they think. The problem, Advaita, and you asked a very important question. up until 2014, every time we were worried about what the New York Times would say, what the Independent would say, what the Guardian would say, now we don't give a toss. We don't give a monkey's toss. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. These jokers in England suffered the worst terrorism when the IRA was in full force, and they haven't yet learned a lesson. They lost innocent lives. They lost Mountbatten, well, in a manner, good, to terrorism, and they didn't learn their lesson. America is actually doing textbook stuff. You attack America, they will attack you. We need to do the same. Which American president then has the moral authority to tell you you've done something wrong? You just turn around and say, but you do this all the time.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
stop worrying about what the West thinks of us. Civilizational legacies began with the East. They did not begin with the West. The West are Johnnies come lately who have no idea, both intellectually and physically, about what's happening in the world today. Their economies are screwed, their people are screwed. There are more public protests happening in London than they happen anywhere else in the world. On Friday, streets are taken over for Friday prayers. Religion, where in this country used to be a private matter, has been brought to the fore. You've got an absolute jerk of a mayor here, Sadiq Khan. So please don't tell us that the West is this paragon of excellence or virtues. They are bottomless, hollowed people, selfish to the core, and the only agenda is to be self-serving, purposeful, to guard their own pound of flesh. They're nothing else and nothing more.
Yeah, I mean, the Trump announced a ceasefire with the Houthis. Imagine the Houthis. So they're ready to take on anyone if it attacks their commercial interest, human interest, whatever it may be. Even the Houthis. And now there's a ceasefire. So let's celebrate that. But I also thought it was interesting. Trump has had a hands-off approach to this particular
Absolutely.
crisis. Usually
It's
he
not
comes
his-
in
it's
and he
not
says,
his monkey,
"This is
it's
my
not
friend.
his
This is my friend. I can talk." But in this particular incident, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's strategic. He's kind of said, "I'm not going to get into it," and
why should he?
that's
Why should he?
and why should he?
The big
Yeah,
scoundrel was Barack Obama, who said, "Oh, I'll shut down Guantanamo Bay. I'll move people out of Afghanistan." How did they leave Afghanistan? They left all those Afghanistan interpreters at the mercy of the Taliban to die. They left innocent women and children to die. That's America for you. So Trump is right. In fact, I think Donald Trump is the wisest American president they've had for a long time. They may make fun of him. They may deride him. It's not his war. Why should American money and American lives be spent on a war that is not his? If two people are fighting, why should he, as an Abdul, come into a Begani Shadi?
No, and also it was during his last term that Pakistan was put on that grey list, right, Professor? For being, supportive of terror activities. And Professor's got a bad signal. Professor's in Jammu, so I was hoping we could get a sense from him as well, because that's where we saw some action in the last 24 hours. As we head into another night, Suhel, what do you think? Is it going to be a night of retaliation, or is it going to be a night of wait and watch? I mean, we definitely expect some sort of retaliation, and I think we're more than ready to deal with that. But what's your sense?
You see, this is not something A, I'm an expert on, or B, anyone in the country who tells you, "Oh, I know what's going to happen tonight," is bullshitting. With Modi, with our defense staff, with our services, with our forces, they will take a decision based on calibrated measures that they believe they need to adopt. They're not going to go by the basis of some media or some of us shouting, saying, yeah, attack them. No, because they have lives to protect and they also have lives to lose. We're nothing. So I think that decision is best left to them. We will see what happens. But I will tell you one thing, Advaita. Last night was a watershed in India's political discourse and dispensation. We have told not just Pakistan, we've told the world that we will fight alone because it is our battle. We don't need your support, we don't need your validation, and we don't need your gyan. Take it and
Okay.
stuff it.
Yeah, let me get the professor in now, Suhel. Professor, you're in Jammu, of course. Suhel is right.
Yeah.
This is unprecedented in terms of a response. India has never gone this far in, never acted with such decisiveness in the first shot itself. So, what are you making of this in the historical context, based on what our response has been in the past and going forward as well? And of course, what's going on in Jammu and Kashmir?
Okay, let me tell you first what's going on in Jammu. The Pakistanis resorted to unrestricted shelling on civilian areas, and one town, Punch, which is quite close to the LOC, has been badly affected. And lots of civilians have died. They did not target military installation at all. It was indiscriminate shelling of a civilian area. I knew it. And the number of people who have died is large. And when people try to get away, they shell the roads also. And this is one town with which I have an emotional connection, because I was the director of our campus in Punch. So I have traveled those roads and I've walked those cities for years. And to see landmarks, the Gurdwara, and there's a famous school out there called the Christ School. The Christ School was not a direct hit, but it was made a target. That basically has made me very, very angry. And that is why, coming back to your first question, is this a watershed? What has India done? Is it a watershed? Yes, it's a watershed. It's a magnified version of what we did in Balakot, but I hope this is not the end. And let me tell you why. You see, so far, what have we done? We have, at least on paper and our declared aims, we've hit the people who pull the trigger. We haven't gone after the people who train and organize the people who pull the trigger. And that's the ISI and the Pakistani army. How we do about it, I think I leave to the government's discretion. But till such a time, the people who organize this, Pakistan has an endless army of brainless, mindless, brainwashed, fanatical people who will come to India and kill Indians. Till such a time, their organizers, justice is not meted out to their organizers. Till such a time that happens, I think we will have this particular problem. So yes, we sent a signal. Many more signals need to be sent. They need not be sent today or tomorrow, but nonetheless, they need to be sent. And I think they will be sent. You see, the fact is, we are disrupting the Chenab waters. So a regular supply, we are disrupting that particular supply. We are sending a small, very big signal. Don't underestimate the value of disrupting the Indus water. It is big. And psychologically also it is big. Not a pleasant thing to do, but nonetheless, given the fact what Pakistan has been doing to us, this needs to be done. But let me come back to a couple of comments which I heard that Suhel was making. You see, the only American president who showed weakness when confronted with terrorism, kidnapping, whatsoever, was Jimmy Carter. When the Iranians took the American diplomats hostage, he let go of a military mission which failed, an Entebbe style thing which they couldn't carry out, and then he stopped it altogether, and that was a big mistake. When Americans were taken hostage, that merited a strong military response. And I think that is one lesson every American president has learned. The Americans may tell us many things, restraint, etc. Thank God Trump is not telling us to do anything like that, because for Trump, it is India's problem to solve. And I thank him for it. Instead of moralizing, he says, solve your own problems. And I think we've shown over the last 10 years, we are quite capable of solving these problems when you give our security agencies the go-ahead to do so. So I'm very happy with that. Coming to Europe, particularly England, why do you think Reform Party is winning so big? It is because the two major parties, the Conservatives and the Labour, had actually handed over England to the Islamists. The streets in England, in a sense, are controlled by the Islamists. The streets belong to them. And one of the reasons, I believe, why Reform is doing so well is because a lot of at least conservative voters are furious that this has happened. I imagine Mrs. Thatcher letting, not just what Keir Starmer has done, what was happening during Rishi Sunak's time. This would have never happened during Margaret Thatcher's time. And I think there'll be a change in England also. If the two main parties do not change, they will be replaced by a third party. Conservatives are already finding out that they have become completely marginalized in this thing. But coming back to Jammu
Yeah, but
and
let's
Kashmir,
bring this back. Let's bring it back to operations.
operation.
Sindoor, let's bring
the
it back to
operation.
that, no?
Okay, so I'm happy. I'm happy, but I think much more needs to be done. I don't care whether faceless, unnamed gunmen visit Pakistani army men responsible for what has happened. I do not mind unnamed gunmen visiting ISI officials to pay our respects for what they have done to us. But this needs to happen. It's no point just targeting terrorists alone. And that way, I think I would commend an article written by a JNU professor, Rajagopal, in print, where he says that this response is okay, but this response does not deter terrorism. And he's right. But I also believe a certain former general of the army staff when he says, movie aur bhi baki hai. So this I don't believe is the end. I think other things will also happen. This is spectacular.
Right.
National emotions are put to rest, but more things will happen.
Suhel, finally, there. Of course, terror is not going to die. It's a state of mind. It's an ideology. It's something that Pakistan stands for and stands with. But a lack of a response was also not the answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I said in my opening remarks, you can't be a namby-pamby nation where a piddly little country like Pakistan walks all over you and you say, oh, please give us some more. Rubbish. You needed a response. You needed a demonstrable response. And what we're going to ensure is that our responses going forward will be deterrent responses, that it will deter these jokers from doing this again and again and again. But as I said, this may not end tomorrow. Pakistan might do it for the next 2, 3, 10 years, but eventually they will disappear. Either they will disappear or terrorism will disappear, but something has to give.
Yeah.
And we have shown them that we are resolute. We are not going to budge. Ratan Tata used to say something really very, very important, which I want to highlight here. He said, when I believe in something, I will stay the course. Put a gun to my head. Either you move or you shoot, but I will not budge. And I think that sums up the mood, the rhetoric, and the emotion of India today. We are not going to budge from protecting our people, from protecting our land, and from protecting our legacy. And if for that, we have to cause destruction of the worst kind, we have to go into your homes and your villages and your towns and your cities and bombard the shit out of you, we will do it. Because we are no longer the Mahatma Gandhi country where we will offer you another cheek. We will go there, we will take all your cheeks and then do what we need to do in order for you to prevent you from being the dastardly people that you are, that you attack innocent men, women, and children who have no ability to fight for themselves. That's what we've shown them, that the India of today is not the India of yore. You are now dealing with a different country, a different nation, and a different emotion. And that emotion is called India or Bharat. And nothing will change hereafter. We will attack you. We will destroy you with venom, with sincerity, with purpose, and we will show you your place in the comedy of nations, which is right at the bottom of the basket of despair and hope. because that's where you belong.
Sohail,
Uh,
I don't think you need to do anything extreme.
I'm not
Target the
saying
army,
extreme.
target the
I'm saying
ISO.
have deterrent punishment.
Absolutely. These are cowards. It is their cowardice that enables them, or basically goads them into operating an approach where other people are put in harm's way. These characters have no guts to take on our armed forces
Yeah,
directly. This is what
absolutely.
they do. You see, so target these characters. Once they know that there is a consequence for their actions, the consequence that is visited on them, you see what happens. They'll start singing a different tune very fast.
Okay.
We'll see about that, and we will be back, guys. I think Suhail, Professor, we should do these uh, as and when things develop.
Yeah.
So I'd request both of you to make yourself available.
Sure.
If this time works better than others, then
Yeah,
so
this is a
be
good
it.
time.
But I think we should keep following and give a perspective to our viewers,
I just want to
because
use
a
this
lot of people watching us.
opportunity to tell all my fellow countrymen, women, and children, be brave, stay the course, and Godspeed. And to all our armed forces and their families, we owe you and continue to owe you an eternal debt of our gratitude. Jai Jawan,
Amen.
Jai Bharat.
Jai Jawan, Jai Bharat.
Yeah, Jai Hind, everyone. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.